Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Page. I am a founder and business attorney with In Prime Legal. Today we're going to discuss how to use legal strategies to reach your most profitable customers. First, let's talk about benchmarking. First and foremost, and again, a lot of the tips that we're going to share today were shared with us by our clients. We've just got the great fortune of working with some amazing clients who we've benchmarked and attracted to our program and who often share some best practices and tips with us. So first and foremost, you want to benchmark your A customers. Now there's an 80-20 rule out there in the universe. And in this context, the 80-20 rule would say that in all likelihood, 80% of your revenue is generated by 20% of your customers. So go to your profit and loss statement, go to your contact management relations software, your CRM, and identify who those 20% are. Once you've identified them, then you want to see if they're a fit with regards to your core values. Just because they generate a lot of revenue doesn't necessarily mean that they're an A customer. They need to be in alignment with your core values. If you read Vern Harnish, Scaling Up, or Gino Wickman, Traction, Good to Great, these sort of books, they'll all talk about this. And the reason that's important is because if they don't share your core values, then the employees who are servicing these customers probably don't enjoy servicing them. And if they don't enjoy servicing them, then there's the result or the risk of employee morale going down because they're having to deal with B players and not A players. But assuming that you have identified that those customers who are in your 20% that generate 80% of your revenue and are in alignment with your core values, then you've got an A customer. And once you've identified your A customers, you're going to want to do a persona worksheet or some sort of way of documenting what that customer looks like. We do this persona worksheet here. A lot of our customers use this as well. And it goes through what's the occupation of that A customer, what role do they have, what are some demographics, what's their age, their household income, are they married with young children, what sort of background and skills do they have, what are their motivations? Do they want to be their own boss? Do they want to retire on the beach one day and not work? Well, we probably all want to retire on the beach one day and not work. Do they enjoy fancy cars or motorcycles? What are their goals? When do they want to achieve retirement? What pain points do they have that prevent them from reaching their goals? And how do your services or goods help eliminate those pain points? Going through this exercise will give you a really good illustration, a vision of who this ideal customer looks like. And once you've done that, then you'll better understand how to find these people and where to find these people, and you can concentrate your efforts there. Now, there's also some legal considerations that you have to take into account with benchmarking your ideal customer. Because once you've identified them, you may realize that your contract, your customer contract that you have, isn't attractive to your ideal customer. So sitting down with your business attorney and going back through your customer contract and making sure that the various provisions and clauses and obligations and so forth are attractive to those ideal customers will be important. For example, when we do a contract, we're very selective and intentional about how we structure that contract. We often put all the things that we know the customers, especially those ideal customers, appreciate and are looking for at the beginning of the contract, because that's where they're going to read first. And then a lot of the protections that we have for our clients are more near the middle or end of the contract. Again, we're intentionally creating this contract to be attractive to those ideal customers and understanding what provisions that they're going to be looking for and incorporating those into the contract. Okay, so we've benchmarked those A customers. Now we want to consider who the non-customers might be. So your most profitable customers may not even be in the 20% of the customers that generate 80% of your revenue. They may currently be non-customers. There's a great book called Blue Ocean Strategy. And in Blue Ocean Strategy, they teach this concept of the red ocean and the blue ocean. The red ocean is the ocean of bloody competition. This is where your market space is today. So say your market share is 600 million. All the customers who are utilizing this type of services that you provide or the goods you provide are here in this red ocean. And so as you're competing with other competitors within the red ocean, you're probably going to be competing on cost and quality. That's how you differentiate yourself from the other competitors in the red ocean. With the blue ocean, however, you're looking at people who could use the services in the red ocean but often don't for one reason or another. Uber is a perfect example. The red ocean was simply getting people from A to B. Uber, in that sense, is no different than a taxi service. It's a third party who the customer doesn't know, who the customer's now called on to get them from one point to another point within a geographic area. So Uber entered the market and said, we don't want to compete with taxi services. We don't want to go after the customers that are currently in the red ocean. We want to go after non-customers. We want to go after people who could benefit and get value out of getting from A to B, but for one reason or another don't utilize taxi services for that because they don't perceive there to be value there. So Uber entered the market and found a way to create this quantum leap of value to attract non-customers. And by doing that, they expanded their market share. So instead of it being, say, for example, a $600 million market share, it now became a $3 billion market share because there were all these other customers who are now targets for Uber in the market space. Of course, Uber's now in a red ocean. Lyft came along, and they're trying to get back into blue ocean. So you've got Uber Eats and so forth. But this can be a strategy that our clients have shared with us in order to figure out how to reach your most profitable customers. Again, this has legal complications because when you decide to enter into a blue ocean, your customer contract is likely going to look very different from the contract that you typically see in the red oceans. Uber, again, is another example. The terms and conditions of engaging Uber are going to be very different than the terms and conditions of engaging a taxi driver because it's a different model. You've got people who are supposedly independent contractors. I think they are, but in California, they may differ on that. That they consider independent contractors. They are doing different things than what a typical taxi driver would do, and all of that's got to be accounted for in the contract. So if you decide to enter this blue ocean to reach these non-customers, you really need to sit down with an attorney who's got a business-first mindset, who's going to understand and appreciate your business objectives and the business strategies that you're trying to implement, and be able to creatively think through what sort of provisions and what sort of clauses you're going to need in your customer contract to really protect you. An example is an IT company. We have an IT company as a client. They had done this benchmarking and they realized that their A customers, the ones that generate 80% of the revenue, really wanted a predictable flat fee. What they hated the most is having to get this varied invoice month after month. They wanted to know exactly what they were spending on IT services. So we sat down with them and they said, hey, we want to incorporate a flat fee contract, but our concern is that some of our customers may overwork us or overutilize us and we're going to make no profit. So we strategized with them and we figured out specific kind of exceptions that we could incorporate in their contract that would from time to time allow them to recoup their cost if they were overutilized. An example of that with this specific client was having to send a technician on site to the customer. So if a technician could handle it remotely, it could take the technician 10 minutes. That same problem, though, if the technician were required to go on site, could take 2.5 hours. So this would drive up their cost. In order to keep their costs low, we put in a provision or an exception in there that said any on-site services will be billed at this additional rate. There will be an additional fee to help keep the relationship mutually profitable. So yes, they did have a predictable flat monthly fee, but they had some protections incorporated in there in case of these situations. So again, you're going to need to rethink how your customer contract works in order to protect yourself and to protect your profits. Third, you want to make strategic alliances. So again, now that you know what your A customers look like, or maybe you've looked into the blue ocean and you know what your most profitable non-customers might look like, there might be specific alliances you can make with others who also have access to those customers and those non-customers. One example is a company we represent that created an innovative bone staple. And they got the patent for this bone staple. They went through the FDA process and got it approved, and now they're at the point of commercializing it. But really, their ideal customer is not the patients who are going to be utilizing this bone staple, but they want to get the bone staple acquired. They want to make the money at selling it to a distributor who then will go off and commercialize it. So they were thinking through, how do we get to these A customers? Well, one way we can do that is to partner with a contract manufacturer. A contract manufacturer, a successful one at least, is going to be manufacturing a lot of these types of implants, these medical products, for other distributors who are then distributing the product to the market space. And so they came to us and said, is there some sort of joint venture agreement or other agreement that we can enter into with a contract manufacturer where A, we're not having to pay the upfront cost or the hard cost of manufacturing the staple, and B, we can give them a little upside if the staple is acquired, and then at that point they can get reimbursed. So they're going to take some risk with us. And we said yes. So we ended up developing a very specific joint venture agreement that was kind of tailored to this situation, that allowed the contract manufacturer to get upside, but also protected our client from things like, getting hurt if the manufacturer's hard costs were way out of scope, things that they couldn't control. So that's an example of a joint venture agreement we did once our client had identified a strategic alliance that would get them to their most profitable customers. And finally, you might expand your team. It might mean hiring additional salespeople, or hiring a specific person who's going to do more research and development in that niche market or in those ideal customers. And when you expand your team, there's all sorts of considerations, legal considerations you've got to think about. Should they be under restrictive covenants? Do you have a non-disclosure agreement in place where your most precious secrets are protected? What happens if they leave and go to a competitor? Do you protect your company against them soliciting your most profitable customers? Do you prevent them from engaging in unfair competition? Those things can be handled with the various restrictive covenants that you put into place. But you also want to think about your employment policies and what your employee handbook says, and if those policies are protecting your most profitable customers. And you want to think about how you onboard a new employee and how you offboard them if they do leave. What sort of steps do you take to make sure that your most profitable customers are protected and they don't leave you? Because again, if these customers make up 80% of your revenue, right, and a salesperson is able to take just a few of them, that can represent a really big hit, a catastrophic legal threat to your business, and we want to avoid that. So again, these are 4 strategies shared with our clients to help you reach your most profitable customers, and legal protections you can take to protect those most profitable customers. First, it's benchmarking those customers, looking at the 80-20 rule, then maybe rethinking who your customers are, looking at the blue ocean out there of uncharted market space, making strategic alliances and ensuring that your contracts are specifically developed to protect you in those strategic alliances, and expanding your team and dealing with all the potential legal threats associated with that. For more information on this topic, please look at the description underneath this video for an awesome article, as well as a customer contract scorecard for you to score your own customer contracts. You can also visit our website at www.nprimelegal.com for those resources, as well as other resources to keep your business in prime legal condition. Until next time, this is Jonathan Page, a founder and business attorney with In Prime Legal.